new food on the block? And again, this is a question I get a lot. Do I ever get bored or tired of foods? This is my tier ranking. Now I have a condition called mast cell activation syndrome that basically causes my body to have allergic-like reactions in response to pretty much anything. And for me, it's a lot of foods. So at one point I could only eat 9 foods and now I can eat 14 foods, but some of them I like a lot more than others. So today I'm going to be ranking the 14 foods I can eat. And I did do this when I could only eat 9 foods. So at the end, I'll compare the one from when I could only eat 9 foods to this one to see if anything major has changed. Okay, so I think we have to start off with my favorite of the 2 proteins that I can eat, turkey. Honestly, I'm giving it an S tier because I really do look forward to it. I have it for breakfast every single day and I'm just always looking forward to it. And every time I finish breakfast, I'm always thinking, when is the next time I'm gonna have turkey? And honestly, if I could just eat turkey all day, every day, I probably would. But there's only a certain amount of protein that you can eat and that's a healthy level. So yeah, first going strong, S tier. Next, I think we'll go limes. Honestly, they're a C. And even though they do give so much flavor to my food, I usually squeeze lime on everything because I can't really have any other seasonings. So the lime adds like an acidity and it also adds some flavor, even though I put them on everything and they really are amazing. They're a C because I don't react to lime juice, but I do react to the oils in the skin. So if I squeeze a lime and don't wash my hands after, or if for some reason some of the oils like get on my fingers and I touch my mouth and it gets on my lips or my hands, it gets really itchy. So yeah, it's like a win, but it's also kind of a lose. So I feel like sometimes I can't really just like have limes in peace. So they're a C. Next we'll go with cucumbers. I definitely give them a solid B. They're great. I love cucumbers. They're definitely a really great snack and a great addition to anything. They're crunchy, but sometimes they're a hit or miss. I feel like this is something that a lot of people don't relate to because usually people will have cucumbers, say, in a salad or in a sandwich or dipped into something, but because I mostly eat them plain, I'm so attuned and sensitive to the taste. So they have to be really good, crunchy, fresh cucumbers. And even if they have the slightest off taste, I just can't with them. Whereas other people would eat that same cucumber and be like, oh, this is delicious, this is a normal cucumber. But to me, it doesn't taste like that because I am so attuned to the very slight differences and nuances in taste. Next, I'd say chia seeds are a D. They're fine. I have chia pudding for breakfast, but honestly, the main reason I eat that is for the nutritional value. So if I had to get rid of a food, it would probably be the first to go. Next is raspberries. That's actually the first fruit that I was able to have out of the 4 fruits that I can have now. And I do really like raspberries. They're definitely a great berry. I feel like they're one of the foods that throughout my life I've always thought is like one of my favorite foods. But again, sort of like cucumbers, they're sometimes a hit or miss. Sometimes they're not really sweet, and I have a big sweet tooth, so that was like one of the big things of when I was able to eat fruit again was having sweet food. So I'd put raspberries at a C because I would definitely choose all other fruits over raspberries. And like I said, sometimes they're really sweet and really good and sometimes they aren't. Even though actually recently I found that a really, really good snack is frozen raspberries, just eating them. The texture's so nice and they do have so many uses. Like I've been able to make raspberry jam, gummies, things like that. But again, I feel like just as a fruit, I definitely choose other foods over raspberries, so C. Next is olives. Now I'm giving them a D for a big reason. Well, one, I can have olive oil and it is the only oil that I can have, so I use it to cook most of my food or, put it on top sometimes as well. But a question that I get a lot, I usually say that one of the foods I can eat is olive oil, and I don't say olives for the reason that most olives have preservatives. So I react to those preservatives. So that's why I just typically say that I can have olive oil and not olives. But I do get a lot of questions asking if I can actually have olives. And the answer is yes, like I can have olives, but I think there's only been one time when I've been able to find olives that don't have preservatives, that aren't dried or preserved in some type of way like that. The one time I did find them, they had salt and water, and that was the only thing used to preserve them. And so those were fine, but that's why I typically don't say that I can have olives. I just say I can have olive oil. So they're a complicated food and they're kind of annoying, so that's why I'm giving them a D. Next is whitefish. I'm giving it an A, and again, I love protein. I feel like the two things in my diet and types of foods that I always want are protein or fruit. And the reason why it would go below turkey is, well, I feel like it's two reasons. One, I like turkey better. And two, the whole whitefish thing is kind of complicated. I used to just eat mahi-mahi, but now I've been able to sort of branch out a little bit just more widely to white fish. I can't have other types of fish, but most of the main white fishes seem to be fine. But I also have to stay more on the low fat side, even though the fattier fishes are the ones that taste better, just because I have some issues with my gallbladder. So I just have to stay on the lower fattier end. So the other fishes are more of like a treat or like an occasional thing that I have. And mahi-mahi is the main fish I eat, which it's good, but it's just not as good. And if I could choose, if I ate just turkey or just fish for the rest of my life, I'd probably choose turkey. Plus, you can get like turkey breast, you can get turkey leg. One time I made a big turkey leg in the air fryer. It was so good and so crunchy. I honestly should do that again. I haven't done that in a really long time. Okay, now zucchinis. I'm sort of debating between B and C. Sometimes I really like making zucchini fries, and you can also make zucchini noodles. They're really versatile, but I feel like C because, and again, this is a question I get a lot. Do I ever get bored or tired of foods? Zucchini is something that I feel like I have to eat sparingly because I do get sick of it really easily. Especially, I know some people really like the fact that zucchini is kind of sweet, but when it's grilled and it has that sweetness to it, sometimes it kind of grosses me out. It gives me a bit of the ick. So that's why I tend to eat zucchini in the form of zucchini noodles, even though recently I have been doing more sort of like zucchini fries in the air fryer, and that's been really good because it gets crispy. But I feel like they're a C because they're not as good as green beans, which next is green beans. Giving them a B. One of my favorite snacks, love putting them in the air fryer. That's pretty much the only way I do it. Put it in the air fryer. They're like, yeah, crispy green beans, so delicious, so good. Again, one of the things that like, if I could eat it multiple times a day, I would, which I mean, I can, there's nothing saying I can't. But I just, like I said, I have a sweet tooth. I would choose fruits over it, so it can't be higher than a B. Okay, another fruit, grapes. I'm gonna give them an A because they're really fun to eat, and you can have fresh grapes or frozen grapes. Frozen grapes remind me of being in high school because my high school had an ice cream freezer in the cafeteria, and as well as ice cream, they also had tubs of frozen grapes that you could buy, which was so nice because I couldn't have ice cream, and some people just wanted to be healthier or didn't want ice cream, and it was such a nice after-school snack. My friends and I used to rotate who would get it, and we would just all share frozen grapes before we left school, so that was so fun. And yeah, I like green grapes and red grapes, but they definitely have to be seedless. I bought grapes the other day that had seeds, and they said seedless, but they clearly weren't, and it was just not good, gross. So they're an A. Next is pears. I'm gonna give them a C. Again, I feel like they're sort of on a similar level to raspberries. Like, they're a good fruit, but there are definitely much better fruits, and they're somewhat versatile. But also, the issue I have with pears too is some breeds of pears I don't like as much. So they are a hit or miss because it's hard to tell what types of pear you're gonna get unless it's like labeled at a grocery store. So yeah, C. And then arguably, probably my favorite food. I feel like it depends when you ask me what I'm gonna say my favorite food is. It kind of changes, but it's pretty much one of two things. First one being dates. They just have to be S tier. There are so many different types of dates too. I feel like most people only know medjool dates, which I like medjool dates if they're firm. I keep all my dates in the fridge or the freezer because I just prefer that texture and I prefer them cold. But my favorite types of dates are, definitely medjool dates. There's a type of date that I get at the farmer's market that sort of have a caramel taste. Love those. They have like a caramel vanilla type of taste. And then black dates. Any type of black date are really good. They're a bit less sweet, but they have like a really deep, rich flavor. So delicious. Dates are just so versatile as well. You can make so many different things with dates. They help bind anything together. When I made my birthday cake, I used a lot of dates. They're just such a good food. Next, my last fruit, watermelon. I have to give it a B, and like I hate to give watermelon a B because I feel like it should be higher, but it's so hard to choose a watermelon and pick one that's good when you can't see inside. And then even when you can see inside or it's pre-cut, sometimes it's like mushy. It's one of those foods that it just has to be right. I feel like you can probably tell that I'm I'm not picky when it comes to types of foods. I'm just picky about my foods because the flavor is so important to me. And like I can taste the difference of the taste so easily. And I'm so used to eating all these foods that when I travel and I'm eating the same foods that I would eat, but it's from like a different grocery store or a different country, I can definitely taste the difference. And it's not that I don't like it, it's just that I found what I like the best. Like I only buy green beans from Trader Joe's, but I buy most of my other groceries at Whole Foods because the Trader Joe's green beans are just better. And last but certainly not least, again, this is the other favorite food I would probably say when it's not dates, is water lily seeds. They're a recent find. I saw them at Whole Foods one time and bought some, tried them, and they were great. They kind of are like a replacement to popcorn. They're really the only thing in my diet that's savory and not like a vegetable. It's something that has that neutral taste, neutral flavor, which is something I definitely missed in my diet, especially when I would get sick. Because when you're sick, usually like the only thing you want to eat is crackers or just something very bland. And I didn't have that in my diet before this. I also missed, having a snack like that. Everyone else can just eat, say, chips or popcorn. I didn't have anything like that. So this is a really great option for me. And I typically do it with olive oil and salt, but sometimes I've also done it with some glucose powder and that makes it sweet. So there's a lot of versatility with it as well. Again, that's what I use to make my birthday cake, to make the snack bars I made, to make the bread I made, so many different things. It's been a really great thing to play around with. But yeah, this is my tier ranking. Now let's see what it was like when I could only eat 9 foods. Okay, there we go. There's the one from when I could have 9 foods. It's interesting because I did do turkey above the fish, but I put green beans higher. Cucumbers, again, the same. Lime's the same, so clearly I had the same rationale for it, and olive oil below. So I clearly had a very similar rationale, but again, I think because I couldn't have any fruits, I put my vegetables a lot higher because that was really the only other thing I ate. So that kind of makes sense. I'm really curious to see when I can eat more foods. 1, what are those foods even going to be? And 2, how will I rank them and how will it affect what other foods I like? Because that's an interesting thing too. When I get a new food, sometimes the old foods that I used to love the most and eat every single day kind of get pushed to the side because I'm like, well, new food on the block.